Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits.
And I'm Callie, also known as Calsters.
And today is Monday, June 18th, 2018. This is episode 309. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more episode. And if you're new, hopefully you enjoyed this one and you'll come back in the future. It's been 3 weeks. 3 long weeks. Callie and I have missed each other. Hopefully we'll be able to hang out sometime. This is about what we get when we get to hang out.
Yeah, anymore.
Yeah. People come up to me at shows and they're like, "What's Callie doing?" I'm like, "I don't know." We catch up before we record.
Yeah.
Talk for a few minutes afterwards, and then life happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're here. We're recording. We're sneaking this one in before I hit the road again, and hopefully it's not going to be too discombobulated and slap happy. Who knows? I don't know. She's full of the giggles today. So we're gonna get rolling with the last 3 weeks. It's been a little crazy, and I know I'm gonna leave stuff out, but I'm gonna let Callie knit for a little bit while I talk to you guys. I'm gonna try to keep it real succinct, but there's been a lot going on. I've been all over the country. So I think before we recorded last, we were getting ready to head to Indiana for the Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival. We attended that event, and it was warm, but I was smart, and I brought a fan this year, and I got to sit in front of the fan all weekend when I wasn't up and in the booth. It was a good event. We did better than last year, so that's always good. Got to see some friendly faces again, and we did apply for next year, but unfortunately we had to already pull out due to a scheduling conflict. So we will not be at Hoosier Hills next year, but hopefully the year after that we'll be back in 2020. Sorry. But you can always catch us at the fiber event at Greencastle. So if you're in Indiana, we will be there in April. So we came back on Saturday night, and we hit the dye pots as hard as we could. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Wednesday was my sister's birthday. We were planning on leaving for Colorado on Wednesday, but we knew we needed to get as much work as we could, so we were like, if we stay through Wednesday, we could work another day. And we were able to take my sister out for her birthday to Mexican and with my mom, which we did last year, and it wasn't all that good of a time, family, whatever. This year was really good. My mom and sister got completely smashed on 2 margaritas. Mine just tasted really good, as it always does. The mango one, they just don't put as much liquor in, but it tastes really good. So we had a really good time. My sister really enjoyed her birthday, so that was really special and important. And then bright and early Thursday morning, Andy and I headed to Colorado. We got to about 2 hours outside of Estes in Colorado on Thursday. We drove 14 hours and spent the night there, and then got up and drove the next 2 hours. We got to sleep in a little bit. We drove the next 2 hours to Estes, and I drove in. I was a bit worried because I don't like heights, and I knew you had to go through the mountains to get to Estes because it is a beautiful city, but it's like a bowl in the middle of the Rocky Mountains with a lake in the city surrounding it. But you don't actually have to go up and over the mountain. You drive through a ravine at reasonable speeds, which California doesn't seem to understand in their mountains, because you go like 65 and 70 around their curves. But here it was like 35 and 40. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Lovely. You're winding along a river. And we got to Estes, and we set up, and I did a live video there with our booth, if you saw that, on Instagram. And it was just beautiful and breathtaking to see the mountains all the time. And, talking to the locals, they're like, yeah, we don't even see it and notice it anymore. I'm like, yeah, it's like us with corn and soybeans, right? So, we went out to dinner. We got to see some deer frolicking in a parking lot because there's just wildlife everywhere. And the grocery store was crazy at 7:30 on a Friday night because it's a tourist destination during the summer. And it was just crazy, but the festival was amazing. It was a lot of fun. We, are not used to a 10x10 booth anymore, so that was a bit we could only get like one person in the booth, either Andy or I, and we felt too constricted because if you had anybody in the booth, it just felt really tight. So, but we made it work, and it was worth our while, and we did apply for next year, and I, fingers crossed, believe we'll be back next year, which is what conflicts with Hoosier Hills. But we just really loved the destination, and it was a better show for us. So, Colorado is dry though. Ugh, we were so couldn't breathe through our nose, at night every night, and just dried out. But yeah, Estes was beautiful. We did the show on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday night, we went out to dinner with the ladies from Bumblebee Acres Fiber Farm, Carissa and her two daughters, Sam and Sarah. And Sam does the Caught in the Wool podcast, which I need to start watching. Told her I would, but I am now. But we were interested in touring the Stanley Hotel, which is where Stephen King stayed and wrote the book The Shining, and it's the hotel in which he based the book upon. Now, it is not where the original movie was filmed. That was in Oregon, but the made-for-TV miniseries was filmed there. And somebody had mentioned, yeah, don't book a tour. Just go for dinner and you can walk around. So we made dinner reservations, and we went and took some pictures and had some drinks in the bar before dinner, and then we had a lovely dinner. It is a bit pricey if you have dinner there, but it was very, very good. And then they even put in 2 years ago one of the big hedge mazes like they have in the movie, but they just put it in 2 years ago, so it comes up to like here. So you could see over it, but eventually it'll be really cool. And it still was a maze. We walked around in it after it was dark, and people just sit out in the porch. We looked at getting a hotel there on Sunday night, but it was very pricey, and I'm glad we didn't because I realized none of the rooms have air because all the windows were open. And I'm sure it would be loud because if your window's open and you have people in and out late into the night or sitting on the porch enjoying drinks, you're hearing that stuff. So I'm glad we didn't spend the night there. But it was really, really cool to see the grounds and all that. Sunday we finished the show and we tore down, and then on Monday we got up and Andy really wanted to take the aerial tram in Estes up to the top of Pleasant Mountain, or I don't know what they call it. It's a smaller mountain. It's not the ones with the snow on it, but it's still pretty darn high, almost 2,000 feet above the ground where you stand. The total elevation was up in the 8,000 something above sea level. I was not happy about it, but I said I would try, and then I started to freak out in line. And I didn't think I could do it because it is not even like that slow gradual tram. It's like slow gradual, and we got to get you up there. So luckily there was an 18-month-old and about 3 other people besides Andy and I on the tram going up. And I held on to the little latch thing, and I looked down, and it was cold. It was in the 60s, but really windy on the side of the mountain. And so as you're going up, there's no window in the front and back, and it was just gusting wind. And then we started to sway a little bit. And so we got to the top, and of course it only takes 2 to 3 minutes to go up or down. It's the same speed, they said. But of course, as you're getting up there and you're getting into the position for the tram to unload, it goes almost no speed at all, right? Just get me off of this, just get me off of this. And we got off, and Andy turns to me, and Andy can deal with heights. And he goes, yeah, I was kind of white-knuckling it a little bit there at the top, with the wind. And I was like, yeah, well, we're up here. So we made it up there, and then it was really windy, so then we went in the gift shop for a little while, and then we walked up to the summit, which we didn't think we'd do, because Andy only had flip-flops. He forgot to pack shoes on the whole trip. But it was beautiful. We fed the chipmunks, and took quite a few videos and photos. And then eventually we took the tram back down, and I was worried about coming down, but I actually was okay. I videoed it. It was on Instagram, and I was able to look up, and yeah, I don't know if I'll do it again, but yeah, I'm definitely afraid of heights, but I was pretty darn proud of myself for doing that. So, and Andy was really happy that we got to do it together. So,
High five.
yeah, thanks. Like I said on my video, you can face your fears. It doesn't mean you've conquered them, but there are times in your life that you can face them. So, then we hit the road and we drove to Fort Collins, and we set up on Monday afternoon for our trunk show at the Loopy U. which Sherry and her staff are wonderful. And we were able to have dinner with Sherry and her daughter Julia, who also works at the Loopy U. And unfortunately, at that time, we thought Andy was going to have to fly home for a family emergency. Andy's dad is not doing that well. He is in need of a heart transplant, and he has to go undergo heart surgery for an LVAD in order to sustain his life until a heart becomes available. So it is heavy news. It was just some family drama and a lot of yo-yoing on scheduling and things. So, and his brother was on vacation in Florida, so it was like, who's going to go out there? And Andy's like, okay, I'll do it. And I was prepared after some mental reorganization to, deal with the trunk show and Iowa Sheep and Wool by myself. And we were on the road to Denver Tuesday morning, halfway there, and his dad called and said, yeah, they couldn't schedule any meetings till this upcoming week. So he was like, there's no point in you coming out at this point. Again, we had to readjust things and cancel the flight. Luckily, we were able to get a refund on that. And Andy was able to stay with me for the trip because it would have been very hard. It is hard to do the booth setup that we do by oneself. So we did a meet and greet open knit night at the Loopy U on Tuesday evening. And that was great. We got to see a lot of wonderful faces, as I get tongue-tied there. And that was from 5 to 8. Got to see Shayna Lines and Emily. I don't know her. I'm sorry, Emily. I don't know her username. Yeah, I think she does an audio podcast. But anyway, they came in and that was a lot of fun. And then Wednesday we went and saw Deadpool 2. And then we tore down the trunk show. And then Thursday we drove 10 hours to Ames, Iowa. And then Friday we set up for the Iowa Sheep and Wool Festival. And then Saturday and Sunday was the festival, and it was a lot of fun. It was in a big arena. They had put down these weird tiles over the dirt floor to, make it a little more pleasant. I'm surprised no one tripped or hurt themselves, in all honesty, but it was still better than the dirt floor. But it also did make for a lot of uneven floors and whatnot. But it was a bit warm, but they had huge, I thought Estes had big ceiling fans in their arena. They had like double the size fans at Iowa, because it was at the Ag Center building for Iowa State University. So
those are huge.
Yeah, so
they're massive.
Yeah.
It's best.
But they moved the air, and we were like in a prime location to feel the air, so it made it okay for us. And it was cooler inside than it was outside. But the attendance was low, they said, compared to the previous year, very low. But they were afraid that the heat index and people, the news telling people to stay inside really affected that. So we had quite a crowd on Saturday, but still, again, they said low. And then there was not a whole lot of people yesterday and Sunday. But it still was a good show. We would love to come back. But this past weekend was TNNA, the National Needle Arts Association, which is an indie trade show for insiders, for yarn shops, retailers, wholesalers, bigwigs, press, all of that. And we've not done a TNNA show yet. We keep getting asked by shops and, things. We're looking at the winter show, but we're also mainly looking, the biggest one is in the summer in Ohio. And so we already told Iowa, if it's the same weekend, there's a good chance we're going to be doing TNNA next year. But if it doesn't conflict, we'll be there. So enjoyed that, got to see a lot of people, got to see Rosie, who is the sister of one of our local yarn store knitters. Mm-hmm. And so it was great to meet her husband and see her again. And a lot of people that I've seen over the years at retreats and things of that nature, or that are viewers of the show. Thank you so much for coming by. And yeah, we got home last night at around 10 o'clock, fell into bed, and woke up this morning, and we have been dying hardcore. Callie had to wait for me for about 15 minutes because only what we dye today can go to ZK. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. But yeah, we're a little, as you might expect, a little low on inventory after 3 straight shows in 11 days. And so we're trying to get as much dye that I can take with me to ZK. So yeah, that's crazy. That's coming up. I'm leaving Wednesday for the Zombie Apocalypse in Rochester, Minnesota. Andy is not coming with me anymore due to family situations. He's going back home to Indiana, but our friend Amber is going to drive up with me, and I have some booth help, and I'm excited to just relax and have the retreat time and have some catching up time and some good times with the knitters, rather than just all work all weekend, just a little bit of work and good times at the retreat. So now that I've blabbered on and on and on, but it's been a lot of stuff. I'm going to pass it over to Callie and she can catch you up on our last 3 weeks.
My last 3 weeks have been...
Busy?
Indeed.
Oh my gosh.
Indeed. A running theme. Work has been going. We are right in the middle of fair entries for us. So getting a lot of questions about that from families that aren't reading their emails, because in the emails there's a step-by-step guide that has screenshots on what to do. And not that I have had to say that more than 3 times a day, every day, for the last 3 weeks, one might guess that there's instructions with step-by-step pictures on how to do it. And I'm like, you know when you write the same email like over and over, or say the same thing over the phone? Like, I'm really trying, because like it's not the family's fault for like my anger towards this situation, because it's one family, but it's one family that keeps adding to it. And that's like, because you want to keep being constantly, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. Like, if you're not getting our emails, which is a lie, because I can tell that you're getting them, because we can see who's getting them. I see you. And so that's frustrating. And like trying to not yell at people has been a little bit hard. A little bit of a struggle bus. Because like, I've been there the longest, and so like, now I'm getting all of these questions because we have this really, really young temporary front staff person that, because I'm friendly, now asks me all questions. And like, I'm getting other areas of work. Like, she's sending them to me phone call wise, and I'm like, oh yeah, let me transfer you real quick. And then that makes me sound like, oh, I don't want to answer your question. No, I totally do want to answer your question, but I don't have any knowledge of the Master Gardener program because I don't run the Master Gardener program. Who knew? And so,
take it as a teachable moment to teach your young new staff.
But I did, and I've had them. And so, like, it's really hard not to yell at her either. Like, I'm just, like, getting a little bitter and frustrated. And it is what it is. But, like, it's been good. There's been moments where it's been really frustrating because I have 3 volunteers that are particularly angry pants people. They've got some stuff going in their lives that somehow warrants them to be bullies to other volunteers and to staff, and I don't have time for that. And so that's been hard to deal with, because I can't say, you need to get your together, otherwise I'm going to dismiss you as a volunteer, but I can't dismiss them as a volunteer because I don't have enough grounds to, so that's frustrating. But, yeah, like, if you're going to be mean, like, why? Why are you volunteering then? Like, just don't. It's real simple.
Yeah.
And especially if you make my staff, like my co-staff, like my co-workers cry, I'm not about that. So that's been hard to do that due diligence. But yeah, I really enjoyed myself this past weekend. I had a brunch with a friend. She was my first best friend. My mom used to babysit her, and we had breakfast at this amazing brunch place in town. Basically, I've never had a bad meal there, and it makes me super happy because the service is really great, and the food's always fast. And as Steve can attest, I don't like waiting, especially when food is involved. And
for her to say she's always had a good meal at a place or really good service says something.
Yeah.
She's a little nitpicky about food service.
It's true. I am. And I'm not ashamed of it. Like, I will treat you nicely, but I do have expectations. Sorry. But yeah, and I always tip extremely well at this restaurant. Like I always like double whatever I usually give as my standard because I love them that much. So it's Fort Jesse Cafe in Normal. If you ever come visit us, word to the wise, put in like they don't take reservations, but you do want to get there early to get your spot in line, especially on the weekends and especially for the brunch, because you can wait up to 2 hours in line. And here's the thing, it's a very small restaurant. They can seat maybe at max 35, so it's tight. So I'm just giving you the secrets to the success that you could have if you want to eat at this establishment. And they're so reasonably priced too. I can't say enough good things. I love them. But we had brunch, and then I went to a used book sale, and I got 2 series of books that I really love. They had the full set, which I had never had the full set. So I got that. And then it was pool day, and that was amazing because our summer intern, her parents are volunteers with us, but I went to school with her older sister, and like we've all grown up together because we all went to the same schools and did like the same 4-H club and same extracurricular activities, so it's like not weird. But it was a nice pool day on Saturday, and I got my January tan, so feeling good about that. Yeah, it was really great. And we had mixed drinks by the pool, so that was nice because our summer intern...
Always a good time.
I know, our summer intern is like the best. And she used to work at a bar, so like my Bloody Mary was on point. So good. It was so relaxing. And I slept like a baby Saturday night until I had to get up for church on Sunday. Enjoyable. I got so much vitamin D because of the sun, clearly. So, yeah, it was great. It was a nice, enjoyable, slow weekend, which I enjoyed.
Good. Well, shall we get to the knitting?
I don't know. I mean...
It's going to be a parade of FOs up in here.
Yeah, I was going to say for you.
The first one I don't have to show you, though, but I will insert pictures in just a minute. I finished my ribbon wrap, and it's probably good I have to insert pictures because the pictures do it much more justice. And my sister's modeling, and she looks beautiful, and this was on her birthday. I was like, please take some pictures. So I tried to take some artsy-fartsy pictures, but I think they came out well.
She's so adorable. Like, seriously. Her makeup is so on point.
So I finished the ribbon wrap. This is by Illy Tilly, and I used all Leading Men Fiber Arts box office in Darkest Hour, Nude Scene, Poseidon, and Into the Woods on a size 9 US 5.5 millimeter needle. So I'm going to put the pictures in right here. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I got to display it at Estes, and I actually hooked it to the top of, like, if you've seen Pipe and Drape, you know, the black curtains to the top. Like, they're 8 foot tall, and the way I hung it on Friday, it was not hanging on the ground. But, you know, garter stitch likes to stretch, and the weight of it, it was a little bit on the ground by the end of the weekend. But it got a lot of oohs and ahs, and I'm excited to display it. I've been in contact with the designer, and I've already purchased copies of the pattern, which we will have in our booth. Not at ZK. I don't really bring patterns to ZK because most people already know what they want or can get them online. But here up in the next month or so, we'll have them in our booth. So excited to have finished that. I think that's probably the biggest project I've ever finished, like size-wise, because it's probably 9 to 10 feet long.
Not even your Afghan? The one that's on the couch now?
Maybe that, but I don't know. I think like project, you know what I mean?
Like wearables.
Like Even Star was my probably most technical, but and even that one was probably bigger than this. But it just the monstrosity of it is kind of cool for the amount of work that goes into it. It was a lot of fun to knit. I highly recommend knitting it if you can. Then I finished my Suburban Wrap by Joji Locatelli, and I used all Leading Men Fiber Arts Monologue, which is their single ply superwash merino, silk, and yak base. And I used the colors Fortune Teller, Glow Stick, and Sea Turtle. And I even have the ends woven in, and I have extras that I need to weigh because I may give it to like Callie and be like, you can knit a 3-color something.
Yes.
Or maybe I'll give it to you for you can do the 3-color cashmere cowl.
Ooh.
Because I bet you that probably doesn't use as much.
I'll
And then
take
you can
it.
have a matching cowl.
And we could be besties forever.
Absolutely. So it starts down here with the fishtail, and I'm going to block these and re-show these to you next episode because I haven't blocked anything because I've been on the road. But it starts with a fishtail lace, and then you've got stripes of color, and then some eyelets and garter, and texture, eyelets and garter, texture and stripes, lace, more lace, stripes, eyelets and garter, and ribbing. So it's not huge, but I think it'll open up. Oh, I'm sorry. Your knitting, your knitting just
hang
really
on a
wanted
Yep.
to go home with it.
I know.
But I think it will open up when it's done, or when it's blocked. But I'm happy with my color choices. And I use this as a really good. I did a lot of teaching about color at these past 2 shows. Because of people, newer knitters, or trying to do color combos, and I was talking about a lot about complementary colors versus contrasting colors and what project you want to choose, because somebody will say, I really like this, what should I pick to go with it? And I'm like, well, it depends on what project, because I really love 2 of my colors that contrast, but my third one is a complementary, and I don't think it is the best choice, though I'm still going to use it, and I think it's a great teaching tool. I'm going to use it, because it's done. But the Glow Stick and Fortune Teller are contrasting colors. You can clearly see those stripes, right? And then I thought, oh, what would go well with it? And I thought the Sea Turtle would, and there is some difference, but the Sea Turtle has speckles of the Glow Stick and the Fortune Teller. So it does not pop out like I would like it to. It more blends in. So when you would want like a contrasting color is when you're doing stripes, where things are right next to each other and you want to clearly define and see the colors, because I'm going to show you in rehearsal some yarn that Andy helped me pick, and he was like, well, this is going to just match it too much. This is going to complement it, and this is going to contrast. So he's like, you want to go with that. And then he's like, you totally just got excited because I knew what I was talking about, because he was listening to me this weekend. I said, yeah, you're right. So I told him he was right. So where you might want complementary colors, I tell people, is, if you're doing like the fade, or if you have like a variegated and you want to pull a semi-solid out of that variegated. So if you're doing like a shawl with a garter stitch body and a lace border that you want a semi-solid to see the lace, but you want it to coordinate with the variegated at the top. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. If you want it to pop, you want contrasting colors. If you want it to kind of meld, you want complementary. And a good way to tell if it's complementary or contrasting, though I've never personally done this, I've helped people do it. If you take a picture on your iPhone and put it in the black and white setting, it'll help you tell the difference in the hues, and to see if you can't tell much difference in the black and white setting, they're going to be complementary. If you can tell hue difference in the black and white setting, it will be contrasting. So, little color theory there for you. All right, so that is my Suburban Wrap. Super excited to have that done.
That's awesome.
And then yesterday, literally as we're rolling into town, I finished my architecture, and this is by Jennifer Weissman. And I used Black Cat Fibers Nomad Sock in the Demeter gradient. It had 10 mini skeins, 20 grams each. And unfortunately, I did not even break into the last mini skein, and I have a decent amount of the second to last. The last one was a black, so that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wind off the second to last color, and I'll keep the black for like cuff seals and toes on a sock. But I was hoping to give it to the girls of Black Cat as a shop sample, but if it doesn't showcase one of the colors, I don't know if that's a really good idea. Anyway, my ends aren't woven in, but this was a lot of fun to knit. It took me a while, but it is done. So it goes between stockinette, reverse stockinette, garter, seed stitch, ribbing, yeah, and just done in a way. So you can see here we started with the lighter gray, into the darker gray, into green, gold, copper, maroon, red, dark maroon, and then this kind of espresso color at the end. So it is a double point scarf.
I like this. This has been on my to knit list since I saw it in a Craftsy email.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, if I may just keep, because I kind of really like these colors for myself.
Yeah. It'd be good if it ever gets cold for apple and pork.
Yeah,
You know,
we won't be here for apple and pork this year.
Okay.
We're gonna be on the road.
Man, all the mini fried donuts. Don't worry.
And I get the ribbon fries with the cheese sauce.
Me and Mandy will live vicariously for you. Unless you're taking Mandy to whatever show you're going.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, are we?
No.
Are Mandy and I going to be in Chicago for Fall Out Boy though? That weekend?
No. I don't think so. I don't know.
Neither
Yeah.
here nor there.
So I knit this on a size 5 US, which is the 3.75 millimeter needle. And essentially, if you have 2 skeins of yarn, you can knit this. If you have 2 gradients, you can knit this. It might be cool to do like a reverse grade, like to get 2 sets of gradients and start it, and then in the middle, and then switch it out. There are 3 sizes. I did the medium, which said it took 900 yards. I had 923 or something like that. Again, patterns pad yardage, so that may be the case, but I did not use all of my yardage. So your experience may vary. All right, my last thing I finished, another big one. That's what she said. Is my crevasse. Yeah, I had just cast this on last time we were recording, and I wham bam thank you ma'am did out, and because someone lit a fire under my rear end about like getting it off the needles, and
It was not me.
no, it was Andy. So the crevasse is by the Plucky Knitter Designs, and I used Plucky Knitter Halo Worsted, which is a 100% cashmere worsted weight, in the Pure Michigan and Be Steel My Heart colorways. And I used a size 10 US 6mm needle. I had 4 skeins of each. They are 50 gram skeins, and I have enough to probably do a hat. A folded brim hat, ribbed hat I think I'm going to do for myself because cashmere and I like the colors. And I think I'm going to use the blue as the folded brim, and then I have a whole skein of the gray left that I did not even touch that I think I'm going to do for the body of the hat eventually. Maybe I should take that to CK. No, I got enough. So here it is. Ends woven in and everything. It's going to open up. I think his mom is going to love it.
Wow. I love it.
I think it's going to be great over her shoulders in the wintertime downstairs when she's watching TV. Yes. Yeah.
This is nice.
So Andy's like, he felt it the night I was weaving in. He's like, I guess it is soft. And it is. But it's a little freezing. But if anybody's deserving of it, it's his mom. So. And I think they do a really good job. I think you can see the hand-dyed quality of the yarn, but it's done very well, so I give Plucky applause. So. Yeah.
What weight is this?
Worsted,
Worsted?
and it's done on a size 10.
Nice.
So, and the original pattern used a different skein of yarn for every different color. So, if you really wanted to knit it, I'm just saying I have a bunch of semi-solids and half skeins of worsted over there.
I wouldn't not want to knit it.
But I'm just saying you could pull from those over there and pull out, 5 different colors?
Yes.
So.
chat afterwards.
They're just gaining
Dust.
remnants over there. So that's all that I finished in the last 3 weeks.
I'm very proud of you.
I'm proud of me too. Now it's going to be... That always happens to me though. Like they all wrap up together and then I start everything and then I'm sitting for months. And...
Don't worry. I didn't finish anything. So don't feel like... If you feel like 3 weeks has been, you know, your standard 3 weeks, it's cool. Me too. So, but Steve and I had this discussion before we, well, in the bloopers,
what I've cut out.
Yeah. Is that, you know, I'm actively not knitting. It's not because I don't have time. I've admitted, like, when I sit down and watch TV, I'll knit, but, like, that's been not as much as it usually has been because, you know, you can't knit in the pool or you can't knit while you're asleep. You get so much done. But yeah, I mean, there's a difference between actively not knitting and just not making time, so.
Right. You know.
But
I don't know. Yeah. It is what it is. If you're, if you want to knit, you will find the time. Is what we were discussing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like when people come up and just say, "Well, I just don't have the time to knit." No, you find other things to do. You know, like I pick up and I'm 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, whenever I can, and that when people go, "Well, you travel a lot." Yeah, I do, but I'm also doing half the driving. So I mean, I find the time, but yeah. I mean, I'm knitting every night in the hotel. I'm knitting at home. I try to find time in the morning to do some knitting and my other crafting, which you're going to see here in a minute. But, yeah.
I get home and I'm mentally drained because I've answered the same email as I've...
And see, even if I'm mentally drained, knitting kind of I can go on autopilot on certain projects, and it just kind of relaxes me.
Yeah.
And it does different things for different people, and so there's no right or wrong. If you need to watch TV for that, good. Great. You do you, boo-boo. But what are you working on? I'm going to let you talk about your works in progress before I talk about mine, since we're running my mouth forever in a day.
Sorry, I sit cross-legged when we record, and or in general, whenever you see me, I usually sit cross-legged, and I have these shoes on that have perforations, and like my foot was sitting on my upper thigh knee area for a long time, and it's all
which you may be able to see right now.
Yeah,
she's probably showing you up her skirt.
I'm wearing shorts. Don't you worry. So. Anyways, I guess I do have a hoe, so I am working on socks, and it's the Watermelon Tourmaline by Vesper, and I'm using size 0 needles because I'm a loose knitter, and so yeah, I have that one done, and so good, and I just put in the waist yarn for the heel on the second one, so cruising along.
Those are going to be great summer socks to finish. Not that you really wear them probably in the summer, but you can.
Yeah. I love watermelon just in general. And then, because Steve has chatted, I feel like I can share this story. So when I was younger, my great aunt Edith lived in a small town called Kennett, Missouri. And it's also the hometown of Sheryl Crow. And my aunt did not live all that far from the Crow family. It was a block down and a block up. So they're super nice people. She's super great. She's given back a lot to her hometown. So like, if anyone wants to badmouth Sheryl Crow, don't do it to me because I've seen the good works that she's done, and her mom and dad are amazing. Anyways, so in Kennett, they have a gentleman who drives a school bus, and the school bus is like, okay, first of all, it like, just like saying this out loud would probably like make me think, oh man, this is gonna be the man that I'm gonna marry, just because of chagrins. So it's this school bus that's like old, it's junky, some of the windows are missing, but he carries, you're waiting for it, aren't you? He carries these crates like of watermelons, okay? And so, like, in the like in the bus, there is like literally where the seats are, it's just nothing but watermelons, and it's stacked, and some of the seats aren't there, so like they're stacked, and it's just like haphazard, right? So in the front part of the bus, though, he sells wait for it. In the front part of the bus, he sells fireworks. Okay, so first of all, this is an ingenious design plan. Okay, first of all, because if you're gonna blow anything up with firecracker, why not let it be a watermelon, right? Like, if you've not done that, if you've not had that moment in your childhood or adult life, I maybe would suggest it if your city like allows that kind of thing. You know. Anyways, but so the funny part is, like, you can always tell where this watermelon bus firework emporium maybe is going. Is going because, like I said, some of the windows are missing. So when he turns, like, occasionally there's a watermelon that falls out. So there is, like, during the month of, like, the last part of June into, like, July, there's these watermelons just, like, tore up in the middle of the road. I mean, like, just dropping. You definitely don't want to be behind. You don't want to be on the side. You want clear, ample room when you are driving and you see the watermelon firework bus, okay? Emporium, who knows? So anyways, my mom will never let us buy watermelon off of this bus. She thinks it's sketchy. I think it's the most brilliant idea ever. And let's be real, it's so random. And if you've met me in real life and or have watched the show long enough, like, we're probably soulmates. I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm sure it's a lucrative business. I mean, how many water bus firework emporiums on wheels?
Water bus? Watermelon and
Watermelon
firework bus emporium.
So, yeah.
I'm glad that those socks bring back that memory for you.
I know. Me too.
See, and I think now that we need to pair up with a dyer, not Leading Men Fireworks. I have too much going on. And we could do a sock club like the Grocery Girls based off of, like, our childhood memories. And we would name one of them the Watermelon and Firework Bus Emporium. What would be our little gift to go along with that club?
Oh, easy firecrackers.
Can you mail those?
Maybe an enamel pin. Can we get a firecracker?
Can we get an exploding watermelon enamel pin, please?
First of all, you need the watermelon and then you need to stick the firecracker in the center. That seems like...
No, you know what you need to do? You know how you have the two pieces? Mm-hmm. The enamel pin with the two pieces? You need to have the firework, and the chain needs to be like the wick.
No.
Or something connected to...
I see where you're going. I could get behind that.
Somebody make it happen. I need enamel pins for my business, supposedly, even though Andy says no. And then we need to have them for the podcast, and we need the firework watermelon bus.
We need
emporium.
The watermelon firework bus.
And there needs to be a bus.
Yeah.
Can we make a tri-pin? I've seen the duo. Can somebody make a tri-pin?
Can you open the doors on the bus and there be a melon there?
Okay. I don't know. That might be a bit bulky.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, food for thought. Anything else you're working on?
No, but if anyone knows the watermelon bus man driver down in Kennett, Missouri,
shout out to Homegirl. All right, what am I working on? I cast on a new project on the road before our knit night at Loopy U, and it's somewhere in front. There it is. I was like, oh, there's so much stuff down here. I cast on a lightweight fingering summer top. Not for me. It is going to be a shop sample, but it is by Suvi Simola, who is the designer who designed the ground pepper sweater pattern that we sell kits for. That is very popular. She is really good at taking a classic shape, a classic design, and putting her twist on it. So she had this speckled gradient for a very classic top-down sport weight V-neck sweater. And this is a kind of a cut-off sleeve fingering weight V-neck top. And it's striped. And I'm using our monologue base. She actually recommends on the pattern our show stealer, but I looked at the yardages, and if I use monologue, our single ply superwash merino silk and yak base, There's enough yardage to do up to the second medium out of one skein of each, and if you want to do anything larger than that, you can do it with 2 skeins of each, which does make it a little bit of an expensive top, but it's a top and it's summer. So it starts out by casting on and doing some short rows for the back collar, and then striping down the back. Sorry, the sun is coming in. And so I'm using Head in the Clouds and Raspberry Parfait. And again, the yak, this is almost the natural color of the yarn when we dye it, this gray-brown. But it has some soft blue speckling in there. And then you actually put this on waste yarn or a spare needle, and then you actually pick up and knit down. I'm working on the left front here, and I'm doing some V-neck shaping here, and I'll do the same for the right, and then it's all joined in the round. I've never done this type of construction before, so it's a lot of fun to try something new. The monologue base is just to die for.
Oh, yeah. This is nice.
Yeah.
This is nice.
And I think it's going to be breathable enough, though. It's soft, but I think it's open enough. It's knit on a size 4 with a 3. It's got a folded and sewn hem at the bottom. It's going to be really cool. So I'm bringing this to work on at ZK because it's just striping, and I'm super excited. Sorry if you heard that. That was one of my dogs getting into it with my other dog. Corn dog can be a butt face sometimes. Alright, so that's all that I'm actively working on. Besides, I did think I added 1 or 2 of my crochet squares to my granny square blanket, so I'm going to show you that. Because I remembered to bring it up for once. Did I finish? Oh, I finished the second row.
Ooh.
That's how awesome I am. So, yeah. We have here to... Help me out here.
I can do that.
And then it goes here, and here, and here, and here. So I'm doing 15 squares across. My goal is to do 20 rows and to then see if it's big enough to be, a nice rectangular blanket. That means 300 squares, and I'm at 30. So I'm 10% of the way done.
Math.
So... I'm enjoying it, though. It's a lot of fun when I get to work on it. I do it downstairs, but we just haven't been home. So sorry about the bright light. There's not much I can do about it. It'll eventually shift. So that's all that I'm currently working on. All right, let's move into in rehearsal. What are we going to work on? So I'm going to work on some more swatches. I think I have one going. I haven't finished anymore, but, whatever. I'm going to take a skein of sock yarn that I've been meaning to work on just to have for something simple and mindless at the retreat. I'm going to work on the Cloudless, and I'm going to start a new test knit for our friend Lisa Ross, who is Paper Daisy Creations, and she has a new design coming out around stitches along with a few other friends / designers at the Leading Men Fiber Arts booth at Stitches Midwest. So I'm going to test knit for her because she sent me pictures of the sample today, and I'm like, it's gorgeous. But then I also want to put my spin on it with some newer things to our lineup. So it is a wrap, that's all I can tell you. But I am going to use a skein of Soliloquy, our Superwash BFL, in the Haunted Wood colorway. And then something that I recently came out with in the shop, but then it's been hidden because I've been on the road, are our new kind of showstopper gradient. I'm calling these color ensembles. So they're not true gradients, but they're color sets that coordinate and go well together that I pull from a design website that kind of breaks down fabulous photos into color coordinating sets for me. Because I do think I have an eye for color, but sometimes it's nice to have that reaffirmed for you. So I did one set, and then this is the second one I've done, and this one's called Seascape. Oh, good lord, lighting. This one's called Seascape. There we go. So there are subtle differences between the first 3, and they're varying shades here, and I'm going to put it with this one. So that's the one that Andy picked, because he's like, you want it to contrast, not to coordinate. So I think that'll look really nice together.
I do too.
So I'm excited. It's going to be a beautiful wrap, and I'm going to be working on it at ZK. And if you're going to be at ZK, I know Lisa's going to be bringing it and showing it off. So
Nice.
If you are not already following her, she is Paper Daisy Creations on Instagram and Ravelry. She will be doing some teasers and call for Testnators here soon on Instagram, so check her out. The other designers that will be joining us in the Leading Men Fiber Arts booth on Friday of the Stitches Midwest Market, we will have Corey Eichelberger, who is iRock Knits, coming out with 2 new designs, and Megan Williams of Just Run Knit Designs will also be there. They're going to be sharing a table in our booth, both premiering new designs. Super excited, out of our yarn, and as well we'll be offering patterns of their designs. On Saturday, we're going to have Lisa Ross, Paper Daisy Creations, with a new design, as well as Stephanie Lotvin, who is Telly Bean Knits, and they're going to be sharing a table and releasing new designs at our booth. And then on Sunday, we're going to have Dallas Ann Prentice, who is a bit more local to us, and she's going to be premiering a couple new designs as well in our booth. So we're like super excited to have done this. So if you are a viewer and or a designer, we do all of the Stitches events, and we are looking for local designers to all of the Stitches, or people who can actually physically be in attendance at any of these Stitches events. So after Stitches Midwest will be Stitches SoCal, which is in Pasadena, California, the first weekend in November. So if you are attending that event and you are a designer or know a designer who will be attending or is close and would like to work with us, now is the time that we need to get that ball rolling, and I'm just need to get the time to get that. But I'm putting a call out here. We'd love to schedule some designers to come and be featured in our booth. It's Stitches SoCal. Stitches West next February. We already, we had mentioned to a few designers in California while we were there, but I will be probably putting together some sort of call and Google form for people to fill out. And then Andy and I will kind of vet and go through design proposals. And then Stitches United next May in Atlanta, Georgia. So those are the events that we're going to do, these featured designer type of things, and we want to bring in new people every year and have new and up-and-coming designers working with our yarns, and yeah, we're super excited. So that's what I'm going to be casting on. What about you?
Excuse me. I think I'm going to work on my friend shawl by Spruce Lane Designs. I had that started. I kind of put it to the side because I got really obsessed with these socks. But I think once I'm finished with that, I think I'm going to finally cast on for real on the Spice Market, because I've had 2 kits, that I bought at SSK in 2016. So it'd be nice to do one of those. Plus they're magnificent and wonderful, and yeah, it'd be nice to have that out of my stash. Not that there's anything wrong with it being in stash, but like I've wanted the shawl for a while. I've just not done it.
So behind the scenes, my spinning, I'm still working on Highland Handmade's Superwash Merino Silk Blend in the Lakeshore colorway. I have just a little bit left of the last 2 ounces, and then I get to ply, so hopefully I will be able to show that to you next episode. But I'm debating bringing my wheel to ZK, but I know how much stuff actually gets done. And I'm even one of those people, I actually work. Like, I knit and I do things during the retreat. You know, a lot of people go, oh, I bring all this knitting and then I do like 10 minutes of knitting in 5 days. And that's not, I do stuff, but it's still not what you're afraid you're going to do, you know. All right, in the scene shop, other crafting. First off, let me show you my cross-stitching. I'm working on a Dimensions kit called In the Moment, and it says Live Life in the Moment. I got a decent amount of work, I think, of progress before I left, so I got In the Moment done, and, sorry, lighting. I'm putting Life up here, and I got some progress done on that. So, slowly but surely. And I want to start a new craft. And Andy is just like, really? He's like, I don't care, but you have no time. And I was like, but I still work on all my crafts. And I think because I want to learn something and try something new, I shouldn't be held back from that, though, either. You know what I mean? I don't think you should ever stifle somebody's creativity. And I get his concern, and he's right. And, of course, I want to jump in head first on, like, all the things. So I'm generously being gifted a Cricut loom. And my thought is I'd like to offer some woven things in our booth at festivals and things, and I'd really love to use up some stash and do some scarves on the Cricut loom. I don't want to do much of anything fancy. I just want to do long pieces of fabric with fringe at the end. But I've also vended next to quite a few people. One in particular, the Hill Creek Yarn Shop. They used to be an actual yarn store. Now they just kind of travel and do shows. But they also purchase from us and sell yarn. But they are known. They're the kind of the ones who started triangular loom weaving, which is a continuous method of weaving. You don't necessarily have to warp like you do on a Cricut or a rigid huddle, and so you can kind of weave as you go, and you don't have to like finish it in any way. You can just pop it off. And I really want to get like the big one. You can get all different sizes and squares and triangles, and you can make different shapes by piecing triangles together. I just want the big old honkin' 7-footer adjustable triangle loom so I can make triangle shawls. That's what I'd like to do. I've seen a lot of them. I think they're really nice. But it's an investment, as in it's woodworking here in the United States by her family. And her mom wrote a book that it was 15 years in the making. It's a whole like tome on loom weaving, triangular and square loom weaving. And I don't know. We'll see. Maybe closer to my birthday, but wow, am I blowing out on my chest. So, yeah, I want to learn how to weave. I think there's going to be some weaving in the future. Just saying.
Nice. I, in other crafting news, it's not really crafting, but I've been cooking a lot more. And so, yesterday was Father's Day. And so I made my dad his favorite meal, which is country fried steak, homemade mashed potatoes, and homemade gravy. And so, it's been a really long time since I've made this meal, mostly because my dad's a heart patient, and so it's a lot of fried food, and so, but I caved, and I make mashed potatoes all the time anyways, but I will say my gravy was so on point. Right consistency, right seasoning. I don't want to brag, but I'm a humble brag. I also made strawberry pretzel salad, so it's like, it's really a bar. Don't let anyone fool you. It's not a salad. And so it's like butter, sugar, and pretzel crumbs on the bottom. Then it is cream cheese, a little bit more sugar, and a whole thing of Cool Whip, and mix that all together. That's another layer. And then the top layer is strawberries and Jell-O. So, as the top layer. If you want to call it a salad and make yourself feel good, I won't blame you. Just so you know, if you log your food on MyFitnessPal, maybe not look at that too carefully if you want to. But yeah, and it turned out really good. And I made homemade guacamole yesterday as well. So I was on fire. So
nice. We need to find some time at home. We bought the stuff to make buffalo chicken dip, which I love.
It's
we
so
haven't
good.
had it in a while. And I'm like, we just kind of need to be home. What we do is like we can only plug it in because usually we're working like on the shipping table in the studio, and so then we just keep the bag of chips and we eat like a handful at a time while we're working throughout the day. I need to sit back here now because if I go here, hey. All right. Now to your favorite part of the show. Now, what's in the spotlight? Let's first talk about what we're watching and reading. I've been watching any TV. So far behind on podcasts, it's not even funny. I think I watched 2 podcasts in 11 days. But we did go see Deadpool 2. We enjoyed it. There was only like 3 couples in the movie theater. It was like 10:45 on a Wednesday. But they had the reclining seats, which supposedly our big local theater, the one like everybody goes to, now has. But I haven't been to a movie in so long. I haven't been there since they put those in. They were nice. We enjoyed the movie. However, it lost it because you know what it is now. You're not shocked by, superhero with the language and the jokes and the innuendos, So it was good. They definitely set it up for a third one. And, but yeah, enjoyed it. It was nice to go to a movie and kind of have a date night. And then I finished listening to a book on the road. I listened to The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey, and it was really good. I would rate it 5 stars. It is a zombie book, but it is totally different than any kind of zombie book I've listened to before. I know when I put it on Goodreads and it posted it on Facebook, a lot of people liked it or commented that they really enjoyed it. Somebody said there's even a Netflix special or movie on it, series or movie. I need to look into that now that I finished the book. And I think it's set up for a second, or there's more in her lineup. I have not looked too far into it, but it is based upon a girl named Melanie, and she is very special and a genius, and she's a zombie, as you come to find out. But she is part of a government facility in which she goes to school, and there are other kids like her, and they're studying them to figure out why she's not like the other zombies who are pretty much brain dead, zombies. And then, as all zombie books, movies happen, all hell breaks loose, and the story unfolds. So I definitely recommend it. It was really, 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 really good in my opinion if you get into those kind of stories. And yeah, 5 stars for me.
Cool. I've been reading quite a bit. I'm like not a monogamous reader either, so I'm not really making a whole lot of progress anywhere. But I'm reading the sequel to Dumplin', which is called Puddin', and it's so good. Don't you enjoy it? And so I'm reading that, and it's overdue at the library, and I'm going to have to pay that fine, but I don't really care because I saw it when it first came in, and they made me wait 3 days because they had to shelve it, and our library's small. There is no reason why it took that long. I'm going to call them out on that. And so, yeah, I'm salty. And I'm also reading another YA book, and it's called Embers in the Ashes, or Ashes in the Embers, one of the two. But it is really good, and I can't think of the author's name, but I'm going to go meet the author tomorrow. So my coworker is like a huge fan of this series, and the book signing happens to be at my favorite independent bookstore in St. Louis, and it's called Left Bank Books. I've talked about Left Bank before. They were actually a host of the Yarn Harlot when she came into town several years ago, and we did a giveaway for that book because I got one for myself, one for Steve, and one for a viewer. So that was really good. Totally, this is a side tangent. This is a plug for Left Bank Books, but if you have the chance, I would sign up for their newsletter. Not only do you get to have all of the author events emailed to you, but you can order copies from those signings. They will set one aside and have it signed for you. It's super great. That's how I did the Yarn Harlot, because I wasn't able to go, and neither was Steve. And they will mail it to you. But I think this is also super important, because not only are they an independent bookstore, I mean, they're really awesome people, but they also do a monthly email blast for their reading groups, or what their reading groups are reading. And they have a fiction club, a nonfiction club, a history club, a fantasy. They have a lesbian reading group. They have a gay men's reading group. They have a Black Lives Matter reading group. I mean, if you can really think of any type of genre-specific book, they probably have a reading group. And they're super interested in starting new reading groups or helping reading groups pick selections. So if you never know what to read, that's a really great email list to be on, just because, again, they do so many different book groups. And because St. Louis is such a wide, varied city, there's always something going on. They also do a Books on Tap, so they'll meet at a local brewery down there in St. Louis, so that's pretty awesome as well.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, again, this is my shameless plug for them, just because not only do I love them, but I think it's a great wealth of knowledge that's underutilized, so yeah.
Nice. That sounds like a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to knitting.
We're going to go to, hopefully, Ted Drew's, which is, the big ice cream establishment down there in St. Louis. I go to St. Louis all the time, and I've yet to go. So, I'm, super excited.
All right. Now to your favorite part of the show.
Steve's.
Hashtag Steve has no self-control. Even though... Yeah. I was allowed to do these purchases. Let's just put it that way. As I talked last time, I'm really crossing that line with Andy as how much yarn is coming in versus how much yarn is going out in projects. And yes, I did have a lot of things go out in projects, but it's still more is coming in than what's going out. So, but it was okay to one, because of business relationships or this or that. It just worked out. So that being said, the first thing Andy actually traded for me is a skein of Western Sky Knits. So the owner of Western Sky Knits, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. She's now on her own now. She was a duo, and now she's on her own. She's from Montana. And we kept seeing her yarns in people's bags at Estes going through our booth. Well, I guess our yarns went through her booth, and she was like, oh, what is this? And so she came over to our booth, and she was going to get a skein of yarn. I was helping customers, and Andy goes, let's just go to your booth. And so he came back with a skein of yarn for me, and it is in their Smooth Sock, which is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, 460 yards, in the colorway Nightfall. And he did a really nice job.
That is really pretty. And very you colors.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what I'm going to make. I actually, with 2 of my purchases and then 2 others that I found in my stash, I had a really nice fade going. And I was like, maybe I'll set them aside for the Find Your Fade when I'm ready to attack that beast. But then I needed a 5th, and I was like, well, it's not ready yet. So it still needs to percolate a little bit. Then, while we were in Fort Collins, we stopped over at My Sister Knits, who used to formerly carry our yarn and hopefully will be soon again in the future. But they're a smaller shop, but they're definitely a destination shop, so they're constantly bringing in new things and whatnot, new dyers. You have so many independent dyers, as well as Brooklyn Tweed and some other bigger names. And it's a beautiful shop that's set in the backyard of one of the owner's homes. It's a remodeled carriage house. You literally park in front of her house. There's a sign, and you walk through a little gated archway down a little brick path through her backyard. There's chickens, there's a chicken coop, and you walk into this beautifully remodeled carriage house that's a 2-story yarn store. And there was a full table of knitters there just hanging out, so it seemed very friendly. Walked in and was immediately warmly welcomed by Julie, the owner. She was like, have you been here before? And I was like, no, but our yarn has. And she just lost it when she realized who we were. And she's like, what's going on? I was worried because she had saw Andy's story, and so Andy and her connected. Her dog's there, Molly, who's the most adorable thing ever. And, she toured us. Her and her sister toured us. We met her mom. If I could go there every day and knit, I would. It would be life on point all the time. So I really loved their store, and I asked the owner to pick a pattern. Her and Andy. Went back downstairs for something, and I said, "Hey, will you guys pick a pattern and this or that?" And Andy's like, "Okay, well I like this." They had tons of samples, racks of samples upstairs. So Andy's like, "I like this one." They had 3 different, 3 of the same shawl done in different yarns and weights on the wall, and they're like, okay, it takes 2 skeins of fingering, doesn't matter. So Andy went through and he's like, well, I like this color, I want to try this yarn, and then we went with something different, but he's like, this is my runner-up. And so we paired 2 colors together. This is the shawl. It's from Yoth. It's called the Let's Get Lost
Oh my gosh.
shawl, and it's kind of a 2 color with done side to side, so there's striping with one color and then mesh on the other side, and it calls for 550 yards of a heavy lace weight fingering, 2 colors, approximately 225 yards each. So I'm going to have some leftovers on this one. But he picked up, they had Julie Aslin, who is from Canada, I believe.
You said that very Canadian-like.
Canada? I believe they're from Canada, because I think she's French-Canadian. And he had a lovely mustard color, but with the mustard color Andy liked, there wasn't a good contrast with the selection they had. So he said, well, I really like this one. And I was like, oh, that's not it. Is it? No. Sorry. That's similar. He's like, I really like this one.
You shut your face even more.
And this is the colorway Romance. And it's like a pink mauve. Light pink mauve. And I'm like, well, cool, because I never go towards the pinky purple, I don't go towards the feminine colors, and I like when people give me yarns or kit me up with things that I'm not going to normally knit with. Because I don't keep my stuff. I gift it. I donate it. I whatever. So Andy had picked this, and then what I picked to go with it, so it would contrast, is their colorway Midnight Oil.
I would totally call dibs on those.
So
I'm calling it now.
this is Julie Aslan's Lezu Fingering, which is a 90% superwash merino, 10% silk, 115 grams, 420 yards.
Yep. I love this pattern. I love this yarn combo.
So that's what I picked up at my sister's. And we're back. Sorry, my mom decided to call, and hopefully she doesn't call me back because I lost connection with her anyway. But she called to invite Andy over for dinner tomorrow night.
Oh.
Well, the whole point is she came over to get burgers out of our freezer, and I was like, that sounds good. When are we coming over? And then she called and said, oh, well, my sister Amanda, she said, you guys are going to knitting. Totally forgot we are, and we always have dinner together. So she's like, well, Andy can come over because I've got 2 burgers pulled out, and I made potato salad
Whoa!
and baked beans, which she makes some pretty darn good baked beans.
She does. Well, I think we had one time I was here.
Yeah. She's kind of known for her baked beans.
Dang it.
But anyway, I was showing, so yeah, this is going to be the Let's Get Lost shawl. And while we were dealing with that mild interruption, Callie laid dibs and I said, sure, I'll knit it for her when I get around to it. When that'll be, I don't know.
Few weeks, few years. Who knows? I'm going to be super excited whenever I get it.
And I want to show you, I've never bought an enamel pin. I don't buy into the craze. I don't think I will. If people gift them to me, sure, but I'm not going to, buy them.
Actively seeking out.
But I did buy this one only because the shop dog at my sister's knits, Molly, was the most adorable thing ever and followed us around while we were shopping and was kind of like a trim corn dog, but kind of like that grandma face because it's a girl, but and she's getting older. But they have carpeted stairs, and she would follow us upstairs and through and down and come sniff us, and oh my gosh. So they had an enamel pin with Molly on it, and my sister knits. So I bought it purely. Sorry, you can't see that at all. I bought it purely to remember my time of visiting the store. So, because she was adorable. So, yeah, that was my time at my sister's knits. And then, Andy and I made our way over to the Loopy U for our open knitting night. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to get something at the Loopy U, as one does. And I said, okay, let's find a project. And they had this beautiful 4-color DK weight shawl, along with a DK weight, open cowl-necked lace poncho. And I was like, oh, I can make one of those for your mom. And then I was like, but I like the shawl. Andy's like, I really like the shawl. And it only took 4 skeins rather than 5, like the poncho did. And so I said, okay, let's find the yarn. And you kind of gradiate. It's called Blend on the Water. And I don't have a picture of the pattern to show you, but it's a 4-skein DK weight shawl. And you do one color, and then you do some slip elongated stitches with the 2 colors melding, and then you do the second, and then you kind of do that, and it blends them together. And I found the perfect set of colors. Even Sherry, the owner of the Loopy U, was like, oh, you do have an eye for color. I'm like, thank you. I kind of like to think I do. So the first one I picked was, I got the Uncommon Thread, which is based out of the UK, Merino DK, which is what I called for, or what the pattern was knit out of, their shop sample. And the first one that jumped out at me was this one called Arkham Asylum, and it's a gray, but it has the softest speckles of lime green, pink, and blue. You can barely see them, but it is a gray with some speckles, okay? And then I was doing some pairing, but I'm going to go in the order that it's going to go. So I got that one, and then I shop with a color theme, when I'm on a trip. I picked up Into Dust, which is very similar to the Romance color by Julie Aslan. So it's going to go from the gray into this mauve. And then I picked out Wilted Rose. Okay, so the dark pink. And then it's going to end in Aged Merlot.
That's really gorgeous.
Yep. I nailed it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna eat my slice of humble pie. I think I nailed it. So this is not a black. This is like a really dark burgundy.
It's gorgeous. This is stunning.
So I'm excited. It's going to be a huge, ginormous, triangular gradient shawl. When? I don't know. But I got it. Alright, so that was that. And that was my time in Colorado.
I was just thinking you could do my shawl for my 30th birthday.
Yeah,
That's
good
in
luck.
October.
Yeah, okay. We'll see. Then we were at the Iowa Sheep and Wool Festival, and we found a new dyer to us that literally lives down the road in Monticello.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hadn't heard of her, and she owns a flock of sheep. Cornwall, I believe. She dyes some and hand spins her own yarn, does her own top, but she also dyes commercial top. And I saw this braid of fiber, and it's 8 ounces, and you don't very rarely see 8 ounces of fiber braided together. And I said, I'm going to give it a shot. It's a merino, and it's from Prairie Shepherds, and it's 8.32 ounces of merino top in the early morning colorway, which is not mine colors at all. But I was like, I could do a big jumbo skein of hand spun out of this.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I could be a rodeo clown.
I might know a person that would be hiring, so.
Hey, YouTube. But yeah, so thought this was really pretty. It was great to chit chat with her. I don't remember her name, I'm sorry. But it was great to talk. We were talking about how we almost moved to a town very close to there, and how their local attraction is a restaurant that's only open on Friday and Saturdays. And she's like, yeah, and all the waitresses are drunk all the time. I was like, oh, really? I've never ate there. But she said, yeah, every time I go in with my children, they're all drunk. But it was good to chit chat with her. So, and they had really nice stuff. So it was great to meet her. So I picked that up at the Iowa Sheep and Wool. I picked up another mini from my girls at Bumblebee Acres Fiber Farm, or I should say Andy picked it up for me. This is in the colorway Sprout on their Croquette sock, which is a mega mini of superwash 75% American Corriedale, 25% nylon. You get 86 yards in it. So that'll go in my blanket. Oops. You know, how big is that basket that holds my crochet blanket? And it's not even 2 feet in front of me and I can't make it. I didn't play sports. And then, last but not least, I came upstairs this morning and there was a skein of yarn on my desk and it said, because I love you.
Aww.
Because I did not get anything at the Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival. I was good. One, it was too hot and I didn't want to move away from the fan if I didn't have to. So I wasn't in other people's booths. And I felt bad because we had dinner with several vendors, but one being, oh my god, I'm totally blanking. She's so nice. Oh my god. The owner of Yakagani. Carrie. Sorry, Carrie. Yakagani Yarns. And her mother-in-law, who were vending at Hoosier Hills. And, yeah, Andy bought a skein of her yarn for me, and which is kismet because she donated a skein of yarn to the podcast, and that's going to be our giveaway here in a minute. But he picked up a skein of her Mon sock, which is, again, the 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 460 yards. And this is in her Ravager's Funeral colorway, which is... She does one colorway for all of her shows every year, and I think this was the Sears show colorway. So it's not that she does a different colorway for every show, it's just she does one colorway per year that you can only buy at shows. And there is so much depth of color, it's stunning. And I was like, oh, hello. And then I just want to show you because this is what I was going to do. I was like, look at that skein of lavender loon yarns. Yeah? You see it? Okay. And then I was like, well, I could put this skein of Into the World in there as well. I almost took a picture and was like, am I coming to a fading point?
Oh.
But I'm missing one. I need one more color. I want a lighter one here.
That'd also be great to intermix all of these great indie dyers too.
Yeah, and because this is like the most popular fingering base out there. It's the same as our showstopper. I'm like, it's all the same base. I almost brought in another one, but it wasn't the same base, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a stickler. But yeah. So that's almost a fade, but not yet. So Andy was a little devil and enabled me again, and he was super sweet. So full of the yarn all the time. All right, enough with the gushiness and the enabling, or the stash enhancement. Speaking of Carrie and Yakagani yarns, she is based out of Pennsylvania, by the way. She donated a skein of her Highlands Festival base, which is a rainbow tweed yarn. And it is 2-ply tweed fingering weight, 85% superwash merino, 15% nep, which is nylon, approximately 435 yards, and it is in the grape soda colorway.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
Besides grape soda. But in Up, the Disney Pixar movie, so Ellie wears the grape soda pin, which, you know, would be the pin color. But it reminds me of Carl, her husband in the movie, because he always wore a brown tweed coat. So it's kind of like that melding of it.
Intermixing, yeah.
Yeah, and it's super sweet. I love Up, and this just makes me smile.
Well, we are very lucky that Carrie offered to donate this as a prize, but it is going to one of you on our next recording. So, we already have the thread open on our Ravelry page, and the prompt this episode is, which color do you like best from the Yakagani shop, which I've linked to in the thread, and what pattern would you knit with it? So it doesn't have to be from a certain line, because the only giveaway is for the skein of yarn, but what is your favorite colorway or item in her shop currently, and what would you knit with that yarn you picked out of anything on Ravelry, or what would you include it with, anything. So, but that'll get you entered for this skein. You must be a member of the Dramatic Knits Ravelry group, as well as you can only post once per person, and the entry must be posted before the thread is locked and before we record in 2 weeks. So thank you again, Carrie, for donating. All right, let's move into a round of applause and start rolling this puppy up. All right, last episode we had a giveaway from another new designer that we met in Kentucky, and that is Medusa Yarn and Fiber. And the giveaway is for a skein of her fingering sock weight superwash merino cashmere nylon in the Electra colorway, which is these beautiful shades of green. And we were also giving away a digital copy of the Megan Williams ebook Sock Synergy, and the prompt was, what colorway do you like best from the Medusa Yarn and Fiber shop, and which of Megan's sock patterns from the collection would you knit with it? And the winner was number 68, who is Twiddling Sister, and that's Jocelyn from Fort Yukon, Alaska. I think that's probably our first winner from Alaska.
I think so.
I don't remember one from Alaska. But she said, okay, so from the yarns in her shop, currently, she would have to pick the Medici colorway, but the one that she really likes is the one for this giveaway. So this one was not up in her shop. So I'm glad she won, because she really wanted that colorway. And she says, I love the emeralds and hunter grains, and that looks like a beautiful piece of malachite. And I think you're right. So she said the socks are all lovely from Megan's collection, but the ones that she is most drawn to are the slip, slide, splash socks. So congratulations to Jocelyn. If you would please, Jocelyn, email me, Dramatic Knits, on Ravelry, and give me your name, address, and email address so I can send you tracking on the package, and I will get that out to you. And once I hear from you, I'll let Megan know, and she will gift you a set of the patterns. Now, Megan is one of the hosts of the Zombie Apocalypse, which is going on this week. So, but I'll also be there, and I'm not going to take care of prizes and stuff while I'm there. So if you get it to me beforehand, just know you may be waiting till after the event before Megan can gift you that. We also had another giveaway last episode.
We did. So Minnie Moon Sewing is a shop on Etsy, Minnie Moon Sewing, and it's Minnie like the Disney character Minnie, spelled wise. And she has great bags. Many are reminiscent of the Field bags, or
Fringe Supply Company.
Thank
Field
you.
Bags, yeah.
So if you're familiar with those, a lot of her ones in her shop are very similar. And the prompt was, how are you living life intentionally? And the winner was number 29, Ed Harley, who is Jean. And her response was, I tried to find a bright side to everything. So this was super cool to read everybody's response for me, especially because with the whole situation that this friend and her family are going through, it was a lot. And today, actually, she started her first day on the job as a oncology nurse at St. Jude's in Peoria. So she said it was the first time putting on her stethoscope since she diagnosed, or well, not diagnosed, but she was the one that gave the time for her husband's death. So she said her analogy was like stethoscopes are like, you know, so powerful because you get to hear the life, but yet sometimes the life is taken away. And she said, this is a new chapter for both myself professionally and personally. And so that was really cool to, like, she is an elegant writer and way better than what I could paraphrase, but it was really cool to see her. This has been a childhood dream of hers to be an oncology nurse at St. Jude's. So that was really cool to see that, you know, she got to do it even amidst all of this stuff that's been happening personally. So congratulations, Jean, and get me your complete mailing address, and I will put that in the mail as soon as I get it.
And she's Callister's
Yes.
on Ravelry.
Yes.
Calsters.
Yep.
Sorry, I just think sometimes, and I get told a lot I do not enunciate between Callie and Kelly, so I just make sure that I spell it so you guys know where to find her.
That's okay. It happens all the time. I pretty much answer to anything.
It's true. All right, so May came to a close a while ago, but this is our first time recording since the end of May. So our May 2018 Race to the Finished Object contest has come to a close. We drew for 2 prizes. The first was a physical prize, and it's a book, 50 Garter Stitch Gifts to Knit. I don't know who it's by. It doesn't say that. But
Is it by varied authors?
it might
designers?
be, but it doesn't even have an editor.
Sometimes.
But it's put out by somebody. Oh, the editors of Six and Spring Books. So, but it's, you know, who doesn't love garter stitch? So you might find a couple pieces in here you would like to knit. I don't think it's too dated, even though it came out in, now I want to know,
2012?
2015.
Ooh.
So yeah, there's still some things in there that, you know, I think would be fun. I'm looking at the back, I'm going, I would knit that. So the winner of this is number 189, and that's Leslie529, and that's Leslie from Ohio, so congratulations. She did a pair of striped socks and entered them this month. So please, Leslie, if you would email me, again, Dramatic Knits on Ravelry with your first and last name, mailing address, and email address so I can get your tracking. I will get this book out to you as soon as I can around my travel schedule. The second prize is a pattern from our featured designer, who is Corrado Lark, who is making a name for himself. He has done a lot of the elementary knitting camps that Brooklyn Boy Knits. If you follow him on Instagram or whatnot, he's really making a name for himself. But Corrado is also doing a lot of that stuff, but they just had a big celebration this weekend, and I know he was doing some knitting cabaret at the event I got to see on Instagram. So Corrado's very talented in musical theater as well as knitting, and he's an up-and-coming knitwear designer. And so he's got a handful of designs out there, and he's agreed to be our featured designer for 6 months. So this is the first month for Corrado, and the winner of one of his patterns is number 64, and that is B-Wing, and that's Brittany from Illinois, who's just the cutest thing ever. We've met her several times. She did a Summer Shrug by Stephanie Lotfin, Telly Bean Design, so it all just kind of works together. So congratulations, Brittany. If you would please take a look at Corrado's patterns. We do have his pattern page linked on our show notes, dramaticknits.com. Let me know what pattern you would like of his, and I will let Corrado know, and he will gift it to you. We do have our June 2018 Race to the Finished Object contest open. We'll pull another physical prize, and we will have another pattern from Corrado this month. You can enter anything you finish in the month of June, as long as it's finished this month. It doesn't have to be started this month. And one post with photo per finished object, that will get you an entry into the drawing. And we will pull on our first episode in July, which is going to be the next episode because that's going to be July 1st. Time flies, right? Time seriously does fly.
It does.
All right. We're going to move into Center Stage, all things leading men fiber arts. I do have a few things to speak about. I don't have any yarn to show. As you can tell, we've kind of moved away from showing update yarn just because things are constantly moving in the shop. And it's kind of hard to set that aside every week. And my sister, honestly, does the photos and updating now. She kind of has her hands a little bit in every pot, so to speak, in the business. And so she takes care of a lot of things for us now that we're on the road so much. So, but something to keep your eye out for at shows and online are those color ensembles that I'm doing on the Showstopper Gradients. I know kits and gradients and sock blinks have been down while we've been traveling. They will be back up next Monday once Mandy does inventory after the zombie apocalypse. But I did forget to mention last episode that at the beginning of June, Heather Laws, who is now coming back to podcasting, she is behind Bunnyfish Crafts, and that is her design name as well, I believe. She came out with an intarsia in the round sock pattern that features a semi-solid and a mini skein. So you can use a full skein, and you always get those mini skeins for cuffs, heels, toes. Well, this does a play on it. If you don't want to do the cuff, heel, toe, you can do this. And so these are called the Rise Over Run socks, and I got to see Heather again at Kentucky, and she gifted me loaned me one of the original socks that's going to start traveling with us, and we will eventually be bringing in a couple of these patterns into our booth, but you can find it on Ravelry now. And it's got a split cuff, so you can do garter in the round without ever having to do purl stitches, because you split the cuff. It's never joined until after you're done with the cuff, and then you can fold it down, and then it has this slanting intarsia in the round section going down the leg. Now she's got small feet. But this is in the All the Way to the Bank and Cherry Blossoms as the mini skein. And I think it's so cool. So definitely check out the Rise Over Run socks. And these will be hitting the road with me here soon once we get some patterns from her and get those printed up. So good way to collect those mini skeins and use, and I'm sure you don't use the whole one, so you might have enough to put into your scrap blankets if that's what you're using them for. But yeah. So I wanted to talk about that pattern. And then upcoming shows is going to be the Zombie Apocalypse Marketplace this Saturday in Rochester, Minnesota at the Doubletree Inn. It will be open to attendees only in the morning, but after lunch, I believe starting around 1 o'clock, going to 3 or 4, I forget. Sorry. It will be open to the public. It is completely free. And there are some amazing dyers from all over the country coming to vend at this event this year. Suburban Stitcher from Texas is going to be there. Queen City Yarns from North Carolina. Ourselves. The Silver Shed USA bags from Iowa. I mean, I haven't looked at I haven't looked at the. There's a lot. Stunning String's going to be there. Sun Valley's going to be there. There's another one. I don't know. There's going to be a lot of dyers. A lot of different things there too. So I'm excited to check out the marketplace, especially since I don't have Andy with me at either one of my retreats this year. Anyway, I'm going to have to find a way to hide it and bring it in the house, though. If you've made it this long, thank you so much for sticking with us. It's been 3 weeks, so you'll forgive the longness of the episode, but I hope you enjoyed it. There was lots of knitting, lots of yarn, and a little bit of shenanigans. So we will see you in 2 weeks, because I actually have that weekend off.
What?
I can't complain. I do it to myself. I schedule more than even Andy would like, but I'm like, I want to go to all the shows.
See all the people.
I do. I love it. I mean, yeah, it's when I was gone for 11 days, that was long. But as long as I get my home base for a couple of days, I'm better. But yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. On Sunday, we will be recording, and we'll pull for all the prizes, and we'll check up with you guys and show you probably some more yarn and some more knitting. And don't forget to check out our Ravelry group, and for both the Leading Men Fiber Arts and the podcast, Dramatic Knits. We have a Facebook group for Leading Men Fiber Arts, and you can always follow us on Instagram, Leading Men Fiber Arts. And for the podcast, you can always find show notes and the video at dramaticknits.com. But you can also subscribe via YouTube or iTunes, and we'd love if you'd leave comments, star ratings, and what have you. So, until we see you again in 2 weeks,
We hope you
knit something dramatic.